Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being with us. And I know it's a grueling situation to face, but we appreciate you being here with us. Rarely do we get a chance to ask you some questions, so I've got a few housekeeping questions to ask before I go into the issue of the day. I am introducing a bill today that will allow 3,000 refugees from Camp Ashraf and Camp Liberty, now Camp Liberty, refugee status, and thus will permit them to be able to come to the United States. Hundreds of these people have been slaughtered. They live under constant threat of being murdered. We know that. And will this administration be supporting my legislation to prevent these people from being slaughtered by this pro-Mullah regime that we have in Iraq now?
Well, Congressman, I've gone to the lengths of appointing a special representative to work exclusively to get the MK.
Right. I'm just asking about we have
well,
legislation.
I need to see the legislation, but in principle, we're trying to find a place for them to go,
in principle,
including here.
you do, but in principle, you would agree with letting these refugees have status, refugee status, so they can come here.
We're trying to find a place for them to go now.
Okay. So, but in principle, do you agree that
in principle, I'd like to see the legislation, but I can't speak for the President.
All right. Thank you.
This one unseen, but I'd.
All right. I'm trying to get the answer, but I understand. Mr. Secretary, it's been reported that there was live drone footage 2 hours into the attack on our consulate in Benghazi. Further, it was reported that there were closed-circuit cameras on the outer walls of the consulate, and one State Department official has been quoted as saying that the main gate camera revealed large numbers of men, armed men, flowing into the compound, end of quote, at 9:40 that night. We have not seen those videos. First of all, do the videos exist? If they do exist, will you make them available to this committee?
I haven't seen any drone video footage, but I have seen video footage of the facility itself, and I've seen those people pouring in.
Right.
And we all saw them. We saw them in the Senate. I think they were made available to the House too.
Okay. So, are you aware of any videos that have not been made? That
I am not. No, I'm not.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Again, when we're talking about the issue at hand today, we all should recognize that you are trying to deal with a challenge, a threat that you did not make, and that was around while the Republicans were in charge of government, and they did not succeed. So that being considered, I'm going to ask you some tough questions, but I do understand that you didn't make the problem, and you're here trying to do what you can to what you believe will solve the issue. When you talk about we're not going to trust but verify, we're going to test but verify, and then you refer to the leader of the government there as the supreme leader, quite frankly, that's groveling but test but verify. The fact is, he is not a supreme leader. He is not some democratically elected governor of that. He is a vicious man with a bloody background, and we are treating him like the supreme leader. Isn't that groveling before a group of people who do not deserve that? Of course they're not going to, at that point, of course they're going to think that they've got leverage and they can do things if we treat them with that type of respect the same way we would a democratic government.
There's no equivalency, Congressman. It's just his title. It's his name. That's what they treat him as.
Well, that's what they call him. And are we necessarily going to treat Adolf Hitler as the Führer? Or this is not the supreme leader. This is a man who holds power through brute force. And as I say, instead of trust but verify, instead of test but verify, it looks like it's grovel but verify to me.
Congressman, I just don't agree with you about the question of test but verify being groveling. The point I'm making is there's no issue of trust involved.
All right.
We are going to protect our interests by testing what they're doing.
I understand the point you're making, sir.
I don't consider anything that we have done here with respect to this to be anything except acting in the interests of our nation and of our friends in the region. And I think we are better off today than we were the day before we made this agreement, when they were progressing to do whatever they wanted in this program. Now they're not.
We hope.
Now they are, because of the sanctions, negotiating with us with respect to a final agreement.
We'll look at your proposal very closely. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Secretary.
Thank you. We